So, hello, this is Steve Adams from Refractive. Thank you for joining us. We are here for our Discover the New Gmail webinar. So thanks, first of all, for joining. I believe that the people that have been invited and are joining today are Refractive clients and customers, either people that we have resold Google and cloud solutions to, and most of you are probably our help desk and support clients. We have Lucy from marketing with us, and she's going to be fielding the questions, which you can add on the live event, and we'll get to at the end. It's going to be difficult to field the questions while we're going along, but we will be doing that. So, just to introduce myself again, I'm Steve Adams. I probably know most of you that are on the call, so thanks for turning up anyway, despite knowing it was me. I'm a senior consultant here at Refractive, and as you know, we're a Google Cloud partner. I've just done a couple of slides. It's not all slides. It's mostly me playing with the product and doing a demo. But we have a bit of an agenda. So introduction and welcome. I think we're doing that now. Then we're going to talk about how to enable these tools in the panel and per user. A little interface tour, user interface tour to show you how it looks. And then we'll have a little look at some of the main big settings and the changes there. Then we'll look at what are known as quick actions, some of the improvements and things that hopefully you'll like. We'll look at the new offline access. There's more things to come that we've promised that should be arriving shortly. And then we'll talk about what's next really for you and for your users and colleagues. So I expect us to be doing this for the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then go into a Q&A. I'll have to keep an eye on the clock because once I start talking, I might get overexcited. But hopefully we'll just run it through it for 20, 25 minutes and it'll be useful use of your time. So I'm going to come out of my slides and you should now be seeing I've got a window open with a bunch of tabs. So I want to just mention that on the G Suite update blog, there have been, you can see this was published on June the 4th. There's lots of information about this announcement. There always are. If you're a bit geeky and interested, you can follow these blogs and see these announcements. We tend to talk to our clients and let people know when there's major changes coming. But if you want to keep up with this stuff, you know, it's all published and it's easy to find. So G Suite updates is the key thing. And you can see it's G Suite updates at .googleblog.com. But if you type in G Suite updates, it's not hard to find this. And you can follow it via a feed, and you can follow them in Twitter and all sorts of things as well. And Google Plus, of course. So there's talk here about it launching general availability in July 2018, but it's available now if you opt in the admin panel. Okay, be aware that the opt-out will be removed 12 weeks after GA, general availability. Okay, so probably in July, it will be general availability, and then 12 weeks later, so about 3 months later, the ability to opt out and to not use it, I believe, is being taken away, which is quite quick. So people will need to adapt, but it's a much nicer product. It's better, so I don't see any real downsides to it. Just to let you know, if you wish to opt in right now, I'm going to switch to the admin console, okay, and I'm in Apps, G Suite, Settings for Gmail. Now, if you're a Google admin, you can easily find this. If you're not, and you're a help desk client of Refractive, then just send us a request and we'll do it for you. But I'm just going to scroll down and show you how it's done. Where is it? New Gmail early adopter program. So you would need, it would be by default, do not allow my users to access it. Do not allow, okay, or allow. Okay, so it would need to be turned on, and it might take some hours before that takes effect. There's also, while I'm showing you this, Gmail web offline, you would need to enable that as well. Okay, and there are some other options here I won't talk too much about, but if you're interested and you've got admin access, you can always go and have a look. So that's the Google admin panel. You need to have privileges to get into that, and if you don't know what that is, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're a help desk client of ours, then we can help you. And if you're not, I presume you have your own administrators that you can talk to. So let's go and look at the product. Here I am in Gmail, and you can see it looks different to the traditional Gmail. The way Gmail's looked has stayed the same for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years really, with no major changes to the way it looks. So this is quite a different look now, although it still retains a very similar feel to how it used to. I think it's much more attractive, but you can decide for yourself. The settings wheel just up here, I'm going to click, okay, and I've got an option to go back to classic mail, which I'm going to go to, and you'll see it will refresh and we'll get the familiar old blue bar, and then I'm back to you know, I'm not going to call it old, I'll call it classic, the same as Google do. So this is the classic Gmail that you're all probably using right now. And on this one, I can opt in. So if in the admin panel it's been enabled, then your users would get this. It won't just switch on for them. They would have to actively go here and say, try it out. Okay. And you'll see you get this nice new loading screen with the Gmail logo, and it pops up. And we can see that the logo for, if you've got a personalized logo for your company, it's now up here. And that's where your obviously your own photo is if you've personalized your account. So I'm now going to give you a quick tour of the user interface. You can see some obvious things that have changed. The compose button here looks different to the old red one. There's a panel on the right hand side here which I'll show you properly, and the way that the messages are laid out look a bit different. It follows what's called Google's material design, which is what they use on Android and across the web and everywhere now, really. And you'll start to notice that there are web pages about material design if you're interested to go and look at it, but hopefully it will give it a consistent and attractive look. So just to walk you through here, on the left hand side, you can now click on this menu and it will collapse it. Okay, so I've got more space here in the middle panel. I know what these buttons are. If I roll over, they'll jump out, and if I go back, they'll go back again. Or I can turn it back on again so it's always there, whether I roll over it or not. So a bit of personal preference. Turn it off again, and then roll over. At the bottom here, you've still got your Hangouts and chat settings. So contacts I can turn on or turn off. Conversations. And if you use outbound phone calls, you can turn those on as well. So I can leave those on, okay, or I can turn them off. I can see more here, but I have to scroll. This doesn't disappear like it used to do. It sits there all the time unless you toggle it off. Okay. I'll just turn that back on so it looks a bit more familiar for you, perhaps. Over on the right-hand side, this is a really nice feature. I think a lot of us like this. You've got calendar, keep, and tasks, and a plus button that I'll come back to. So on calendar, if I click into here, I will see my calendar on a day view, okay? And I can see what I'm up to today, and I can move backwards and forwards a day. So it's very nice in that you can quickly see what your day view is while you're using your Gmail. You can collapse that again nicely and go back into it. You can click into an event. Okay, I can click here to edit it in the calendar, and it will. Oh, I've got a pop-up block there. Let me just allow that. Always allow pop-ups. Done. Let's just try that again. Clicking into here, edit in calendar, and it should pop out a new window. And then I'm straight into the calendar. I'm going to close that, back into Gmail again. I can also pop out the calendar here. So if I want to go and look at the calendar properly, as it were, I can do. And I'm in Google Calendar. So I've got used to that very quickly. I like that. And you may do too. You can just close that down. You've also got Google Keep. I don't know if you're using Keep, but Keep's a note-taking app. You can use it on your mobile devices, iOS and Android, and it's very nice, Keep. So if I open that here, I've got some keep notes that I've kept. You know, don't forget the milk. But maybe I've grabbed this text at some point from somewhere and kept it in a keep note, so I can copy that, for example. Okay, copy that text and then maybe take it into an email, and I could paste it in to the email and interact with my keep note. And those keep notes are actually available in most of the apps like Google Docs. You can get to it from tools, so got Docs and Sheets and things. Again, if I click and open in a new tab, then it will open up my Keep in a new tab, the same way as the calendar did as well. So if you're a Keep user, really handy. If you're not a Keep user, well, become one, because it's great if you want to. Can close that down again. Actually, I'll move on to tasks. There used to be tasks in the old G Suite, and I used to actually use them. I'm going to turn it on here, get started. And then they kind of, they went away a little bit for me. I didn't find them that useful, and there wasn't a way of, using them on a mobile device. So I opted for other task management software, something more sophisticated. I've not gone back to tasks, although they are now a bit more viable than they were. It might be something you want to look at. Keep is more about notes, although you can use it for task lists. This is more about, you know, a little to-do list. So it might be webinar prep, although it's a bit late for that now, isn't it? And you can create lists. So you can create a list called, so for example, priority tasks. Okay. And then you can switch between the different lists that you've got. You can create new lists via there as well. So if you want to get organized that way, you can do. And there are now apps for tasks available, certainly on Android. I think it's on iOS as well. So that becomes a viable way of tracking your task if you like it. And it is helpful that it sits here. Also available, this Plus, you can get what are called add-ons. So I'm going to click onto there. Okay, and then there are add-ons. Now these are sort of, it's like a bit of an app store really, but these are specific things. So unless you are a user of one of these things already, or you want to be, then adding them may not be that helpful. But you know, if you like the app called Rike, if I click onto Rike, for example, so that helps you create tasks, yet another task manager. I'm not recommending it, and I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying it exists. But you would have to go and create an account in there or sign up with them, and I think they have different plans, so maybe a free one and then you might get pay for ones. So you can look at this little marketplace and see whether or not any of these things you're actually using. We use ProsperWorks, for example, within our organization as our CRM, and that allows us to that would allow us to add an add-on here, and I would be getting a pop-up you can see in the demo window here in the right hand column. So third-party vendors can create add-ons that you may find useful to add on inside this right panel, and that could be very powerful for you. So I've shown you the left panel, toggling it on and off, and the right panel. So that's different and new, and in my mind, better and nice. Another thing to show you, let's have a look. I've got some notes here to make sure I keep myself on track. Okay, yes, let's look at some of the main settings that you can set here off the settings cog. Okay, display density. So before I show you that, if you look right now, I've got some emails here. This one's got some kind of attachment. This one's got some attachments, and they're available right there. Okay, so if I click on this one, straight into looking at this guy who I was working with this week, I can click next button, move across. There's an agenda document, and there's another agenda document, and I can go left and work back through these. I can go back to Gmail, and that's just available right there. This is on the default view, which I'll show you can change. If I click here and say display density, okay, default, comfortable, and compact. I'll go right to compact, and what you'll see is all the white space gets compacted. Okay, and you can see it's giving an animation of that there if you like. So if you like more data on the screen, you know, if I had a lot more emails here, I can get it like that. But you can see that those quick links to the attachments have now disappeared. So I'd need to open up the email to see the attachment. Okay. So for example, I think it was, I can see this one's got an attachment. I can see there, it's got an attachment. If I click through to it, then I could obviously open the attachments like I always could. So that's a personal preference thing, really. And I'll just show you the other one, display density, comfortable. It's kind of in the middle. But again, you don't get the attachment showing. So I'm going to go back to the default, just so you see that. Display density, default, okay, and then you get these extra buttons. Hope that makes sense. I want to show you themes. So off of settings, themes were always there and haven't really changed that much, but let's just show you it anyway. So if I click on themes, click Steve, that should be it. Lots of colorful and bright themes. Let's just put this one on the dark theme. Ooh. Okay, so, you know, if you prefer that, you can turn that on, and that's not really that different from the current classic Gmail. Okay, I'll go back to the default light one because I'm used to that one. Okay, so that's themes. let's have a look at the what I call quick actions, or what Google call quick actions. So you'll probably have noticed as I've moved my mouse over here, you get these little pop-ups. Okay, so while I'm looking at an email here, I can look at this email and I've got options here: archive, delete, mark as read, and snooze. So mark as read or mark as unread. So if I look at this one, this one has, you can see this is bold, so it's an unread email. This one has been read. If I want to, I can mark it as unread nice and quickly, for those that like to do that. Some people like to mark an email as unread because they'll come back to it later and remember it. Another thing we can do, though, to mark an email as unread, or to come back to it later, sorry, not to mark it as unread, is to use the new snooze function. So if I need to respond to this one, but not until Monday, for example, I can click on this lovely snooze button here, and I can say snooze until later today, tomorrow, next week sometime. So it's offering me things someday, which just means it will sit under snooze. I'll show you where that is, or pick date and time. So I click pick date and time, I'll get a calendar and I can say whenever I want. I'll just cancel that, and I'm going to go for next week, and it's suggesting Monday at 8 a.m. That's what I want. So if I click that, you'll see this disappears. This is called Project X New Docs. So next week, and it's gone away. However, if I click on snoozed, okay, and just look here, you'll see some new emails appear at 20 past. I've got them set to. So let's see what happens. Snoozed. Here's some I prepared earlier, okay, which is snoozed until 11:20 a.m. today, and then the one that I've just snoozed, which is this one. Oh, and look at that. That wasn't me doing it. That was me getting very lucky with my timing, or very brilliant with my timing, maybe. So the three that were on 11:20, you just had time to see, okay, have just popped up back into the inbox and unsnoozed, and the one that I just snoozed for Monday is still there, and you can see it says June the 11th, which must be Monday, mustn't it? Yes, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So there were 4 in there, and you saw them disappear as we watched. If I go back to the inbox, those ones that were snoozed are now come back, and if you look, they're at the top of the inbox, okay, because that's where it puts them, which is a really nice feature if you like to work that way. Obviously, you've still got your stars if people use stars. So often I would put colored stars on, which is how I remember to do things. But snooze, I think, is a really powerful feature for people that whose work suits that method of working. I'm really chuffed with that 20 past thing. That just worked out really nicely, the timing there. I got very lucky there. Nudges. Now, there are nudges, or nags, as I think of them, which I can't show you here because none of them are being nudged. It's a demo environment, and it's not real life. But I'll show you a screenshot. I think I've got one prepared here. So Gmail will now remind you to respond. So yeah, nudges, or nags, which Google don't call them. Nudging is on by default for users with the new Gmail enabled, but they can turn it off from their Gmail settings if they choose to. So it will look at an email, and through the power of sort of AI and machine learning, will try and remind you of things and nudge you to reply because it looks like you've neglected it. That could be a lifesaver and really helpful, or really, really annoying, depending on how you like to manage your emails. But I've seen it starting to work for me, and also in my own home Gmail account, which I tend to neglect emails more in there than I do for my work ones. Work ones I tend to be very managed, and I star them, and like to think that I manage them really well. My home stuff, perhaps not so much. So I found that really useful. So again, depending on how you work, you may find that useful. As I say, I can't really show you that because it hasn't just naturally happened. You can't make it happen. That's the Gmail robots deciding that you need nudging based on their algorithms. So I've shown you snooze and nudges. I want to nudges, sorry, and I want to show you smart reply. So I had an email here. So Work Steve has sent me, Demo Steve, who I'm logged in as now, an email saying meeting on Thursday or Friday. Okay. So if I click into this email and read it, it's suggesting some smart replies. You may have seen this. You also have had this on Gmail on mobile for a while. And these are sort of canned responses, if you like, but actually they should, over time, sort of start to use language that you use and sound a bit like you. So it's still quite new, this. So we have to see how many different ones you get and whether or not you can work out when somebody replies to you whether they've been lazy / efficient and used one of these. But I think I'm not sure how clever that's been and worked out whether I'm busy on the Friday, so the Thursday looks better. Okay, but I'm going to click Thursday works for me, and it just pops that in there. Okay. I'll mention there's more to come, but there's also, this is Smart Reply, there's also Smart Compose that has rolled out to gmail.com consumer users. And Smart Compose actually looks at what you're typing and then sort of types ahead for you, and it's quite magically brilliant. So you can start to type things, hi, it's a long time since, and it will say since we last spoke, and you just press the arrow key and accept that text. And it's pretty clever. But that's not rolled out yet in the G Suite for Business solution. So Google, have about 1 billion people using Gmail, and it's a great laboratory to see which things are working before they roll it out into the business solutions. But it will be coming. So that was Smart Reply. I'll just go back and see if I get any more Smart Reply suggestions. This is a sort of marketing message. I don't know if it will do us. No Smart Reply for that one. Okay, it doesn't know what to say. But for real messages, sometimes you'll get a Smart Reply. No, not for that one. But you can see the one that I sort of concocted, the meeting on Thursday or Friday, it suggested some Smart Replies because it was a fairly straightforward reply. I like those. I'm starting to use those more and more. Just looking at my list of things, done Smart Replies. Let's talk about offline. Some people think that you can't use Google offline, but Google Services offline, but you can, and you always have been able to. I'll just show you the old one, which we can ignore. But if I click onto here, I've installed a Google Chrome extension called Gmail Offline. Okay, and if you install that and you start it up, you could use Gmail offline. I'd have to enable it on this account and continue and things, which I'm not going to do now. But you could always do that, and that works with the classic Gmail. We're no longer going to use, are we? Because it's going to be shutting down in a few months' time. So I'm going to just turn that off. But you could always use Gmail offline. And of course, you can use it on your mobile devices and tablets. Popping back into the new Gmail, if this is enabled, and I showed you earlier on in the admin console, enable Gmail web offline. So your admins, if that's us at Refractive or your own admins, must have ticked that and it have to be live. If that's ticked, then under settings, okay, you can go to settings, and then there's an offline button here, okay, and I can click enable offline. Now what that will do is give me some other options. So it tells me how much in this demo account I haven't got a lot of emails, but it tells me how much space I've got left. Sync settings, store emails from the last 30 days. So this isn't all your email ever. The most you can go is 90 days, sort of 3 months back. So this is really about coping while you're offline, not carrying all my emails with me in a big email client, okay, which you could do in other email clients if you wanted to. I like these security settings. After logging out of my Google account, please choose one of the following: keep offline data on my computer, or remove offline data from my computer. So if I were going off on a work gig, maybe going away for a couple of days, knowing that I was going to likely have some times where I was going to be without internet connection, then I'd probably click keep offline data on my computer, because I wouldn't want it to keep losing it every time I log out. But I could, if I was a bit more security minded, think about removing offline data from my computer when I log out. Now, with things like GDPR, where you're not supposed to be keeping, GDPR type data on a local device, or it has to be encrypted or whatever, making sure that when you log out of your Google account, that the data is removed might be a very good idea. Okay, so I'm going to enable it. I've selected remove offline when I log out, and it will resync when I log back in again. I'll leave it to, I'll just put 7 days so it doesn't spend too long synchronizing. I'm going to click Save Changes. When I do, you should see a little icon up here. So click Save Changes. Okay. Email resync will be required every time you log out and back into it. That's what I just set. Cancel is the default. Got it is, I have to click there. Excuse me. And then it will reload. And then we should see just up in the right-hand corner here. Here we go. Downloading messages. So again, this is a demo account. It gets email in, but it's not a really heavily used account. So 7 days of messages looks like it's 65 messages, and that will run for a while. Now, I am doing this demo via YouTube, and hopefully there's still people watching. And I can't go offline and do a webinar via YouTube. So you'll have to trust me that it works, but it does. And the messages that have synchronized, in my case, over the past 7 days, up to 90 days if you select it. So we'll be there, and you can use them and you can reply to them. And obviously, when you go back online, it will notice you're back online, and it will then push the messages out and download new ones and resync in the way I would expect. It's still running, isn't it? Let's say it's saying it's downloading 23 attachments now. Okay, so that can make a big difference to people. Obviously, that's in Chrome. Okay, obviously, it's only synchronizing when Gmail is running. It's not running in the background anywhere. So if I was to close this Gmail tab, then obviously the sync wouldn't be running. And we can see it's caught up now. Okay, and we're ready to go offline. So I think you can obviously read up more about this if you want to, but I think that encapsulates how to turn it on and what it does. Okay, let's look at my notes. Yeah, so yes, just to remind you, for offline needs to be enabled by the admins in the console, in the admin console. You need to be an admin to have this. So if you go looking for it without privileges, you'll never get in. You won't find it. If you don't know what you're doing in there, don't mess. You know, if you're a Refractive Help Desk customer, make a request to us. We'll turn those things on for you. And then the user has to go into settings. I'll just show you again, settings. And then there was the offline settings there. You know, and if you click there and disable it, then it will be gone away again. I'm going to do that actually just to show you. So disable, save changes. It will refresh, and then that little icon won't be there anymore. Okay, and it's all gone away. So there's no local copies kept on my machine anymore. Nearly 11:30. So we're kind of there actually. I want to talk about a couple of other things. There's confidential mode, which I think I've got a note on as well. Let me just see, where did I have that? Confidential mode. So additional features and admin console settings. Some of this stuff will come out soon. It's not yet available. There is a confidential mode which will enable you to send emails with a sort of self-destruct timeout on them. So after, you could say in 3 days, this email will disappear. For G Suite users or Gmail users, I believe these emails will turn up in as normal, but with a label on saying they will get destroyed. Okay, if you send it to somebody externally, it's going to send them to a when I say externally, send it to somebody who's not a Google user. It will send them to a web page effectively where they can read that email. And I haven't actually seen and used that yet because it's not been rolled out yet. Okay, but we're looking forward to that. I also mentioned under more to come the Smart Compose. The Smart Compose feature that will be coming up that types ahead for you and tries to work out what you're thinking of and save you some typing. So that's kind of it. I'm just seeing if I got any notes from Lucy. Nothing yet. I've got no questions either. Not sure, Lucy, if there are any questions. I'll just ping her. So we'll see if there are any questions. You should be able to add them in the dialog box next to the where you're watching on YouTube. Lucy said to me there are no questions yet, or maybe just aren't any because I've explained it so well. I'll do my little bit of wrap up here, really. So if you're a Refractive Help Desk client, then you can request that we enable this for you. I've talked about that a couple of times in the admin panel. Just send us a help desk ticket saying, please switch that on for us. And then your users can opt in. Okay. There are be aware, the opt-out option will be removed in 12 weeks after a general availability, which is expected to be sort of mid-July or something. So July, August, September, back end of September into October, I think it suggests the option to revert to the classic Gmail will have gone. So, I wouldn't wait till then and then give everyone a surprise. I would be looking ahead and getting people to opt in between now and then. Okay. We'll send out some links afterwards to these updates and things, but there's a couple of nice things I will mention. Always, this is the manual, Gmail help. Learn what's new in Gmail. So, the stuff that I've run through is obviously in the help in the help manual page, if you like. Okay. And again, we'll send that out. It's not hard to find, though, if you go and look at Learn What's New in Gmail. And in the Learning Center, I don't know if you use the Learning Center, but that's great as well. So that you've got the manual pages in the help, but this is the Learning Center, which is all sorts of great materials. And this is a cheat sheet I've found here. You can download it as a PDF or you can read it online, and that walks you through as well. So it's similar information to what's in the manual help pages as well, but more of a cheat sheet than a manual page. If you don't know the Learning Center, or your users don't, then you really should. It's a fantastic resource. If I go to home, okay, lots and lots of great stuff in here. They've got a tips library. They've got learn by product. So if you want to know about calendar, you can click into here, start from scratch, switch from, and they've got cheat sheets here as well. Calendar cheat sheet. Why can't I say that? Okay. Lots of great information here. Lots of great information. Yeah, I should also, while I'm talking about tips, I'll give a quick plug for our G Suite tips. Let me just find that, gsuitetips.com, which hopefully you all know about, but it used to be called GApps Tips, now called G Suite Tips. Okay, and we publish tips here as well, and I do videos on here as well, which if you haven't had enough of me yet, you can get more. But there's lots of what we think are quite interesting tips. Some of them are quite heavyweight, some of them are just are quite simple. But for example, this one here, conditional formatting in Sheets, there's a video, if you click play, that will play, and then we talk about it in the text as well. So gsuitetips.com, follow it on Twitter and Google+, and there's a YouTube channel as well. So yeah, I'd encourage you to have a look at that. We'll include links for all these things in a follow-up email. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope it was useful. I hope that you guys start using it. I think it's a much nicer interface. I like the old one. I love the new one. This webinar is the first in what we might well be a regular series of webinars for our clients. So we will reach out to you, as we say in marketing, to see if you get any feedback from you and for just suggestions and topics, anything that you're interested in. It would be quite nice to be doing these. We've been talking about it. Do we do it monthly? Do we do it bi-monthly? I think it has to be every couple of months really to be a regular series, but we'll see. We've kicked it off with this new Gmail one just because it's such a big change, and we think that we'd get some interest in it. So I'm going to wrap up now. I think there's no questions come in. And again, thank you very much for joining us. I believe we'll make a recording of this one, so make it available to you. Lucy will be in touch. And do let us have some suggestions for other ones that we might do in the future. Thanks again. Hope to speak to you all soon. This is Steve from Refractive signing off. Bye-bye.